Here.
Governor Webster.
Here.
Chair Levine, you have quorum.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda today, and by the way, this will not take long, so we're going to try to go through this pretty quickly. The first item on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the March 27, 2013 and June 10, 2013 meetings of the Audit Committee. The minutes of these meetings are in your packet. Do I have a motion to approve? I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
So this is a motion and a second to approve the minutes of both meetings. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Aye. I assume that's an aye. That's a little bit of a delay. All right. Okay. The next item on the agenda is an update on the status of the Florida A&M University Corrective Action Plan. And I want to make a couple of comments before I turn it over to our Inspector General, who incidentally is doing a great job, should say. I had an opportunity earlier this month and periodically to meet with Trustee Carl White, who's the chairman of FAMU's Board of Trustees Audit and Compliance Committee, and also the Chief Audit Executive, Rick Givens, really to get my own detailed assessment of where they stand on the corrective actions that have been taken at Florida A&M University related specifically to the Division of Audit and Compliance. And I've been impressed with the progress they've made. Importantly, structurally, making sure that the audit committee is engaged, making sure that they're focusing on their audit plan. That's not to say they're not going to have audits with findings. All universities have audits with findings. More importantly was to make sure that we put a process and a structure in place that conforms to best practices. Specifically, Mr. Givens has fully implemented 8 of the 10 corrective actions that were cited, including they've updated their charters for the Audit Committee and the Division of Audit and Compliance. They've revised the audit procedures to ensure compliance with professional standards. They're conducting a self-assessment of compliance with professional auditing standards, and they've passed an external quality review assessment with an assessment of generally conforms, which is the highest assessment, the highest grade, if you will, you can get. They're conducting an audit risk assessment and developing an audit work plan. They're making performance reports quarterly to the FAMU Audit Committee and implementing time and tracking systems. Now, what's good also is, in addition to these actions, their Division of Audit and Compliance has concluded 4 audits during the current calendar year. Either most or all 4 of these came from a process where information was brought to the Compliance and Audit Committee, and the Audit Committee directed that these audits be done, which indicates to me that their practice is working, and it's working effectively. They had 4 audits on cash collection points, the 800-bed residence construction project, the Life Gets Better scholarship program, and the Voyager card. Each of these audits identified opportunities to improve controls and enhance accountability, which means the process is working. So I encourage Mr. Givens and Mr. White, and under the direction of Dr. Robinson, who's done a great job of prioritizing these issues among the many priorities that he has at FAMU, to really get this process fixed. And I think they've made great progress. There's 2 specific issues I want to raise, and I'll hand it over. One, there is an issue, there's a couple of audits that were done by external firm Ernst & Young that identified some continuing work that needs to be done on a couple of issues that I think are routine. The good news is there's an independent set of eyes working with the audit committee. And 2, what's been raised as an issue that I think is important for us to talk about as a committee going forward is the issue of IT security, information technology, and their ability to retain staff. Audit of IT is incredibly important for everything from sensitivity of information to access points to security and access. And what happens is the private sector is very robust at coming after our state employees, and there's not a lot of these people that do this. And I think this is an issue not just for FAMU, I think it's an issue system-wide. And it's something as an audit committee we ought to talk about. So with that, I would encourage you to look at the report that you've been provided with, and I'll turn it over to Joe if you have anything you'd like to present with respect to the corrective action plan.
Thank you, Governor Levine, Vice Chair Morton, and committee members. It truly is an honor to serve as the Inspector General for the State University System of Florida, and I'm very grateful for this opportunity. My first responsibility today is to provide an update on the FAMU Corrective Action Plan. This corrective action plan was put into place after the Auditor General's operational audit of the university earlier this year, in addition to a review by my office of the anti-hazing program and other related reviews and reports. Collectively, these reports raised issues at the University of Operational Control and Governance, and as a result, this corrective action plan was developed to monitor the status of those items at the board level. As our previous chancellor pointed out, this is a high-level corrective action plan. The university, their board of trustees, and their administrators have taken on corrective actions at a much broader and more granular level at the university. So our work in monitoring the plan is to help ensure that we have accountability and foster an environment of transparency for the university level, at the board level, and for the public. In your packet, we have a 14-page update that tracks 30 corrective actions. And those corrective actions are in process. 14 of those have been completed. The remaining 16 items that we're tracking are on green status. And for us, that means that we're making good progress within expected time frames. I'll provide a brief update in each area. For audit and compliance, as Governor Levine indicated, Chief Audit Executive Rick Givens has provided great leadership in that area. 8 of the 10 items have been completed. The 2 remaining items relate, one, to the delivery of IT audit services at the university, and they've had the very challenge that Governor Levine mentioned, retaining staff. I believe that is a system issue, not specific to FAMU. They also have to implement and ensure that their investigative procedures comply with the Association of Inspectors General procedures and standards. And they're in the process of doing that and providing formal training on those. So I believe good progress is being made in that area. For finance, we have 9 items of corrective action that are being monitored. 5 of those items have been completed on the list. The remaining 4 relate to bank reconciliations, athletic department revenue collections, revenue reconciliations, and travel reimbursements, including use of P-cards. And as Governor Levine indicated, there are independent eyes through Ernst & Young looking at those issues, and these remain open items of corrective action that we'll be working closely with the university on to ensure that they stay on target. For academics and accreditation, we have 5 items of corrective action which all remain open and on green status. Most importantly, the Southern Association of Colleges and Schools has focused on FAMU's accreditation. They conducted a site visit this September and published a report with no recommendations in mid-October. I believe everybody's aware that they'll be taking up FAMU accreditation issues at their December meeting. And I think, like board office staff, the review indicates that the corrective actions can only truly be confirmed with the passage of time and additional reviews like those being conducted by Ernst & Young. The other 4 items of corrective action under academics and accreditation are implementation of the academic goals contained in the FAMU work plan, providing SACS correspondence to the board office, which they've been doing, ensuring and developing a law school accreditation plan, and focusing efforts to correct IT and data management issues identified by the Auditor General. Under the area of facilities, we have 2 corrective actions. One identified as complete. The remaining item relates to the use of design-build construction contracts at the university, and that item is listed as in green status. And finally, we have hazing and student code of conduct, a very important area, and those 4 items of corrective action are listed in green status. They are implementation of an anti-hazing program, annually updating that program, establishing an operational plan for the Office of Judicial Affairs and the Department of Public Safety, and finally revising their student code of conduct. And I believe that was revised and approved by their Board of Trustees in June of this year. I believe these actions of the university collectively demonstrate great progress towards improved control and governance environment at the university, and the remaining corrective actions will be tracked and monitored, and those we're tracking at the board level we expect and hope will be completed by September of 2014. Governor Levine, that concludes my report on the FAMU Corrective Action Plan.
Just one last comment, and I'll open up to questions if there are any. What I would suggest is there's been really good progress made, and progress starts with structure. And what I really want to commend the president for is the structure they've put in place. And the only thing I would suggest going forward is continued focus on encouraging an environment of reporting, investigation, the university taking action, and reassessing what actions have been taken after the fact. And I think if you have that structure in place, I think it'll be an institutional success going forward. So congratulations, Mr. President, and to your team and to your board as well. Any questions from any of the members or any bond members? Ed?
I think we all recognize how important hazing is and anti-hazing. My only suggestion is when we're writing minutes, the word seems to be or seems to comply with. When we're dealing with a subject this serious, I think we need to be a little bit more binary. The policies and the procedures do or they don't. And having an open window like that and having verbs and it seems to be, that left me a little concerned. I'd rather see a definitive statement, especially on something that critical to resolving the issues.
That's a very good point. We should be very absolute. Either it does meet compliance or it doesn't. Any other questions or observations? If not, we'll move on to the next issue. The Office of the Inspector General and Compliance has many functions. Among them, and I'm off script. Okay. Joe, why don't you give an update on that?
All right, I'll make it brief. I know we're pressed for time here. Two items that I want to talk about. One is the publication of our annual report, and the second relates to our chief audit executives in the university system. In September of this year, we published our annual report for the Office of Inspector General and Director of Compliance. That report's required by statute to be published annually. It details the activities that our office performed in the past fiscal year to achieve our mission to promote accountability, integrity, and efficiency in the state university system. And as everybody knows here, that was the work of my predecessor, Derry Harper, and the report is included in your materials and addresses audit, investigative, and compliance activities for the office. I'll move on to the system of chief audit executives, their internal audit plans and reports. Since being appointed to the position of Inspector General back in September, I've had a lot of learning to do about board office operations and about the system as a whole. And one of the key things to learning is to engage with the chief audit executives at each of the universities. I had the opportunity to meet with the State University Audit Council, or SUAC, which is an informal group consisting of all those chief audit executives. They meet periodically and have done so for over a decade to talk about common issues. I'd like to report to the board that they're a very impressive group of professionals, and they represent nearly 70 positions across the system responsible for conducting audits and investigations at each of the state universities. One of the things that Governor Levine asked was that we request from each chief audit executive a copy of their audit work plans. Those were provided to my office, and those are prepared in conformance with professional auditing standards, which means that each university chief audit executive performs a periodic assessment of the risks at the university related to their governance structure, related to their operations, and finally to their information systems. They perform their audits through the year based on their plans and requests from management or other issues that might cause an audit to be needed. And they, in accordance with their professional standards, follow up on any adverse audit findings through the conclusion of any appropriate corrective actions. So I think that serves the universities and the system well. Collectively this year, they've issued 80 audit reports for the system. Those are in addition to the Auditor General's annual audits, finances at each of the state university, and their triennial operational audits of each university, as well as those independent audits of our direct support organization. So all these audit efforts combine to provide, good audit coverage of the system. I would make one point, and to build on the comments of Governor Levine. I think that the audit staff at the university struggle to provide adequate information technology audit coverage. This was confirmed by my discussions with the chief audit executives and by looking at their quality assurance reviews, as well as literature. A recent survey by the Association of Government Accountants of Inspector Generals at the federal, state, and local level showed that 85% of Inspector Generals put information technology audit coverage as their highest audit concern. So this is really an important issue, and these information technology auditors do command a significant salary, and it's difficult to retain them within the system. So I think this is a system issue that we'll need to be discussing now and in the future. I'll conclude my comments with saying that, I have a lot of learning to continue to do, and I look forward to working with the presidents of the universities, the board members, my counterparts, the chief audit executives at each of the state universities, and their compliance officers. And I think in my role as director of compliance, engaging with the ethics and compliance consortium, which was developed this past summer, will be very important to my roles and responsibilities as well. So that concludes my report, Governor Levine.
Thanks, Joe. Any questions of Joe? Joe's highly competent, excellent audit and compliance executive, and I've asked him to review the Audit and Compliance Committee charter as well as the Office of the Inspector General charter, and to bring back, since he's new, to bring back any recommendations to our March meeting. So hopefully there won't be any changes, but if there needs to be, he'll certainly recommend those to us. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I will conclude this meeting. This meeting stands adjourned.
Thank you, Alan. Norm Tripp, Academic.
Thank you.